Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ron McFall, and I serve as the Director of the Office of Scholarships at Indiana University Bloomington. And on behalf of IU, let me just say welcome. Welcome, and thank you for joining us to hear all about the 21st Century Scholars Program at our 21st Century Scholars Jump Start event. So we have a lot to cover, and I know there are a lot of people that are going to be streaming in to the presentation as we go. So what we're going to do, and I want to make sure that we cover all the material we have in front of you tonight. We'll walk you through the program and share our enthusiasm for what it means to be a 21st Century Scholar at IU Bloomington. I'm a two-time graduate of IU myself. So in addition to simply serving as a director of the Office of Scholarships, I get to work with the wonderful colleagues here on the presentation with us this evening. And I just personally find it so exciting to see such strong interest in this wonderful institution that means so much to all of us. And if you're signed up, you were invited to this webinar to learn more about the 21st Century Scholars Program and the benefits of the program specifically at Indiana University Bloomington. You may hear about it at other campuses in the IU system, but we're going to talk about IUB and why we think this is such a special place for scholars in this program. We do have a great program for you this evening as we get started. You're going to learn a little bit about the admission process. I'm going to touch on that briefly. Really what we want to focus on tonight are 21st Century Scholar specific points of information and the perks, including the programmatic advising and mentoring and financial benefits of being a 21st Century Scholar at IU Bloomington. We're going to have so much information to share. In particular, something we're really proud of at IU Bloomington is something called the 21st Century Scholarship Covenant. And my colleague Amy Hull from the Financial Aid Office will talk to you about that. But then you're going to hear about the real highlight of our evening. You're going to hear from our current 21st Century Scholars. We have a wonderful panel here with us, and they're going to tell you what it's like to be a student at IU Bloomington as a 21st Century Scholar. So one last housekeeping note before we dive into the program. As I see our numbers continuing to go up, thank you for logging on, everyone. We're so excited to have you with us. If you have any questions throughout the event, please submit them in the Q&A function on Zoom. So you'll see that little Q&A thing down in the window there. Please submit your questions, and then we will try to get to them over the course of the event tonight. So with that, I think we've covered a nice little intro. What I'm going to do is jump into some, maybe a brief overview, if you will, of the admission process and what IU Bloomington has to offer as a Big Ten institution. So I'll tell you this, personally, I have a lot of experience. I came to IU in 1997. So almost, what is that now? 24 years ago was my freshman year. I came from, I'm a born and bred Hoosier. I'm from a town called Tell City, Indiana. And I came to this campus for one primary reason, because it was big and beautiful and I had a lot of options. And that's what you have if you choose IU Bloomington. So part of what is unique about our admission process is just how much there is to explore at Indiana University Bloomington. As you can see on the screen, we have 12 academic schools. So a wide variety of things to cover. And you can, when you get here on campus, you can pick another major. You can say you want to study in the business school, but the College of Arts and Sciences also has something you're interested in. We encourage our students through the admission process, through getting to know our academic programs, which will happen all throughout your application year before you hopefully come to IU. You're going to hear all about these programs, their unique opportunities. We have a number of top world-renowned programs on our campus. And I'm a Kelly graduate myself, also have an education degree. There's not a program on this list that you should feel anything less but enthusiastic and so thrilled to be a part of. And more information will be shared with all of you by our admissions office leading up to your application to IU. And I'll go ahead and share, if you're scribbling notes furiously, that's okay. Go ahead and do it. But all of this information and even greater levels of detail are available on the admissions website, admissions.indiana.edu. So we talked about exploring the schools and the 12 academic programs. Well, within those 12 schools, there are literally hundreds of majors. Whatever it is, students, that you're interested in studying, it's a pretty safe bet that there's some form of it or some connection to it on our campus. Over 200 majors, new ones added every year, revised ones happening every year. We're seeing such tremendous growth in our business program, in the College of Arts and Sciences, seeing tremendous interest in our media school, our Luddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering. So be sure when you're doing your research, you're understanding what you want to study, really get a sense for the breadth of the programs that we have to offer. And again, so much of this will be presented to you and shared with you as you get closer to your application cycle. It wouldn't be a Big Ten world-renowned university, as it says on the slide, if we didn't have some of the world's true experts in their respective fields in the classroom. One of the things that universities really pride themselves on is, how does it feel like our faculty are connecting with you as a student? And the beautiful thing about IU, if you look across all of our courses, the average class size is about 30 students. And our student faculty ratio is 16:1. That's probably less than your high school room, the classes you take in high school. So we want you to understand that while IU is a big, beautiful campus with lots of opportunities, and yes, what you've heard is true. Some of that first year, you'll have some larger courses as we all find our way through the university. But as you get into your program, those courses get smaller and smaller and more focused, and give you a more personalized and effective and truly transformative educational experience based on a smaller student to faculty ratio. We're really proud of that, and it continues to get better each and every year. So, I mentioned we would do an overview of the admission process. I barely scratched the surface of what it means to be a student at IU. You're going to hear a lot more from our experts with us tonight, including our students, about what it means to be a 21st century scholar at IU Bloomington. But here's an important question. How do you get to IU Bloomington? Well, we're in Bloomington, Indiana, so I'm sure your phone would take you there pretty easily. But what we can do is really walk through the application process. This is an area where I want to make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn. And so in addition to all the opportunities we talked about already, you have to apply to IU. You have to figure out, how do I get in there? And there are two ways to get into Indiana University. So with that, I'm actually going to turn this over briefly to my colleague, Nichelle Whitney. Nichelle is here online, and she's going to walk through the IU application, the Common App, in the ways that you can submit your application and become a Hoosier. So Nichelle, take it away.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction, Ron. Give me a smile or a nod to make sure you can hear me. Great, wonderful. So as Ron so wonderfully explained, there are a couple of ways that we can get you to IU, but the most straightforward path are through our two most common application types. So you can apply to IU via Apply IU application. That actually allows you to apply to IU Bloomington and other IU regional campuses. So if you're interested in a campus that's closer to your hometown, that may be a good option for you. But then we also can be found on the Common Application, which has over 700, I think 700 schools on there. So as you're going through your application, you should be able to apply for multiple schools in one place. Just so you know, you only have to submit one application, okay? We will review all of the applications with the same exact criteria. So do not think that you have to send us more than one application to increase your chances. So when we think about what you're going to need to apply, you're going to need a few important things. One, you're going to need that online application. You're also going to need your official high school transcript and your SAT or ACT scores. You're going to learn more about this later since we are a test optional campus now, which is an exciting opportunity for you to tell your academic story to us. But for right now, just know that you'll need your online application, and we do require an essay. Our essay is 200 to 400 words. It is pretty straightforward. We just simply ask you, what are you interested in studying? What are you most passionate about? And are there any programs or unique opportunities that you would like to experience while you're at Bloomington? In addition to what you need, it's also really important to remember November 1. That is like the magic deadline. There's a lot of scholarship opportunities that are linked specifically to that deadline. And for admissions, it's our early action deadline. Just because it's early action does not mean that it's binding. So you can get admitted early and still continue to explore your options. And it gives you more time to get on campus with IU Bloomington and learn more about scholarships. So when you're planning for your application process, you want to make sure that you're planning to have a completed application to us by November 1st. So let's talk a little bit about the admission standards. What are we looking for? Well, we're certainly looking for at least 34 college prep credits or semesters. And we pay a lot of attention to your English, your math, your science, and your foreign language. We will consider your weighted or unweighted GPA, whichever is highest. And like I mentioned before, we will consider an SAT or ACT score if you choose to submit one. And again, we will be looking at that admissions essay. So what are we looking for in a perfect applicant? Well, there's no such thing as a perfect applicant, but what I can share with you is our middle 50%. So this is around what most students are scoring, but I want you to know that just because that's the middle 50%, you should know that we admit about a quarter of our class that score above these ranges and a quarter of our class that score below these ranges. So I like to tell students and families, do not make your own admission decision. Let us do that for you. So our middle 50% GPA for our 2019 admitted freshmen was a 3.58 to 4.0. That middle SAT was between 1180 and 1380. And that middle 50% ACT was between 25 and 32. Again, let us make an admissions decision for you. Don't rule yourself out if you don't feel that you fall within that middle 50%. We like to help students find their path to IU Bloomington. So let's go through a timeline again. Well, you're going to see November 1st multiple times in your journey to IU. In addition to November 1st, one thing you should know is that if you apply by November 1st, then you will get a decision from us by January 15th. If you apply by February 1st, you'll get a decision from us by March 15th. And if you apply after February 1st, you'll receive an admissions decision only on a case-by-case basis if there is space available. So that February 1st is our regular decision deadline, but that November 1st, early action, that's the deadline to shoot for.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, or I guess it's evening now. My name is Zachary Cullum, and I am with the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. So I am the Regional Outreach Coordinator. I serve from Evansville to Bloomington. So some of you may have had the opportunity to meet with me before. But if not, I hope you guys are having a great start to the summer break. But I just wanted to go over the requirements for 21st Century Scholars and what it would take in order for you to earn your award. So there's some things that we would have you do over the course of the next year, year and a half to make it so that you are eligible for 21st Century Scholars. So if you have any questions or anything, make sure that you utilize the question answer function. I will give my contact information at the end of the presentation. So if there's anything that is more sensitive in nature, I want you to go ahead and email me or give me a call. But if it's anything that is kind of a general question, I'd be happy to answer it over the question and answer. So in order to be eligible for the 21st Century Scholars, what we would look at is you earning at the time of graduation a 2.5 GPA on a 4.0 scale. So, and then also a Core 40 diploma. Hopefully it is higher than that, but that is the absolute minimum that we would need. So that is something that's verified through your school. So you won't need to do anything, submit out any transcripts or anything for us. That will be something that your guidance counselor will take care of us for you. So you would also need to file the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, before April 15th. So it will open in October. So you have from October to April 15th in order to get that FAFSA done. If there are updates to your FAFSA that's submitted after the April 15th deadline, that's perfectly fine. But that is something that first FAFSA needs to be done before April 15th. For the last 2 years, we have extended that deadline. I can't say that we're going to extend it again, but that is something that we will look at and communicate with you in the event that that does get extended. You also need to apply for an eligible Indiana college. So IU is definitely one of those. So make sure that even if you're utilizing your gap year, because students can take a year in between your senior year and your freshman year of high school or college, a 1 year gap year. If you're going to utilize that, make sure again that you still need to file the FAFSA and put an eligible Indiana college. So that is something I just want to make sure that that's done. So even if you're thinking about, hey, I might be going out of state or I might not be going to college, I would still go ahead and file the FAFSA and apply to an Indiana school. A lot of times application is free for 21st Century Scholars. So that's something that you might want to take advantage of so you're ready to go. So as some of the other requirements, in order to be eligible when you get into college, you need to maintain satisfactory academic progress. Typically, that is a 2.0 at the college that you're going to, and completing at least 67% of the classes that you take. That's something that each college is a little bit different, so you would just want to make sure that you work with the financial aid office that you are going to make sure that you are within the satisfactory academic progress. Complete 30 credit hours per year. So typically that's 5 classes a semester, because typically a class is about 3 credit hours when you get into college. If you have any AP classes or dual credit classes that you earned in high school, that can count towards your 30 credit hours per year, because you will create like a credit bank for you that everything that you earned in high school for you to be able to draw on in the case of an emergency. It could be that you have to medically withdraw for a semester or there, COVID happens again and they shut down campus and you're not going to attend that next semester. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's there to help you navigate those situations that may not be good for you to attend for a semester or something like that. So if you are not going to take 15 credit hours a semester, I would want you to reach out to me or one of the staff at the Commission for Higher Education, just to make sure that those credits are in your credit bank and that everything is going to be as seamless as possible. But I would try to aim for if you're not going to take 15 per semester, you can do 12 hours in the fall, 12 hours in the spring, and maybe 6 in the summer, so that it's pretty flexible. In the event that you fail a class or something like that, you've got some extra time to utilize during the summer. You've also pledged not to do any illegal drugs, alcohol before the age of 21, or commit a crime or delinquent act. So I tell students I don't want to see their face on the news for doing anything stupid because that can have an effect on your financial aid. So if you go to a party and get a DUI your first semester or an underage drinking ticket, that can remove you from the 21st century. So we want you to make sure that you are making smart decisions that don't affect future you. and that don't put you in a bad position where you might lose your financial aid. So just make sure that you are thinking about the consequence of your actions to not put you in a tight spot, later. And then complete the Scholar Success Program. You're going to have, about to go over those for your high school career, but also you're going to have college SSP. So that is something that we want to make sure that you can log on and complete those in a timely manner, so you're eligible for the 21st Century Scholars year after year. So as far as the opportunities in high school, I'm going to quickly go over these. But these, if you haven't done any of these, or let's say that you haven't done your 10th grade activities, that's perfectly fine. So all of these need to be completed before graduation. So you've got a little bit of time to complete those. So 9th grade, create a graduation plan, participate in an extracurricular or service activity. There are 3 videos that we have you watch. So that's Paying for College 101 freshman year. Sophomore year, estimate your cost of college, because we want you to be thinking about how much college costs and what opportunities there are for that. And then your senior year, College Success 101, that's the final video. Your sophomore year, take a career interest assessment, get workplace experience. So this could be a part-time job that you may have, or it could be some informational interviews that you do. It could be that you job shadow or do an internship, great opportunities. Visit a college campus. I believe that after the end of the program, they have a link towards the online college campus visit for IU. So that is something that you could go ahead and check off. Virtual visits count as well. So you can just say any of those who are asking or any of these requirements that ask if you can confirm. That is something that you can just put parent or guardian in. You don't have to have a representative from the school or something like that in order to confirm these activities. One thing, although IU is test optional, it is required for the 21st Century Scholars to take an ACT or SAT. So that is something that you get a free SAT and ACT, both your junior and senior year. So make sure that you work with your guidance counselor in order to get that fee waiver where you don't have to pay for it. You do have to take the test. The ASVAB or the PSAT does not count, unfortunately. So I would just make sure that you get that done sooner rather than later. And then that you don't necessarily have to send the scores to the school. So you can just leave that portion blank, but you do have to take it for the 21st Century Scholars. Search for scholarships, even though IU does give a great amount of scholarships and an awesome opportunity with the IU Covenant, you want to make sure that you are applying for as many scholarships as possible. So we always teach you with the SCHOLARTRACK to start local. So start with your community foundation in the county that you're in, and then you can kind of broaden your search. But apply for as many scholarships as possible because we want to make sure that you get out of college debt-free as possible. So if you get out of school debt-free and you're able to start making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, that's going to set you up to be able to maybe take some nice trips, to start saving for retirement or saving for a house or something like that. The average student loan debt in Indiana is about $35,000 a year. And that is something that student loan debt will stay with you. Only rare circumstances can it be discharged. So you want to make sure if you do borrow something that you're being cognizant of what you borrow. So make sure that you talk with the financial aid office and make sure and you understand everything that you're borrowing. So you're not leveraging future you in order to attain some short-term goals. So senior year, submit a college application. A lot of schools do give a college application free for 21st Century Scholars, so that's something that you can take advantage of. The last week of September is the College Go Week, where they will have certain incentives for scholars to complete and non-scholars as well. So make sure that you're talking with your guidance office because they will have those activities and everything for you. And we always have a list on our Learn More Indiana website who is giving free applications at that point. Watch College Success 101, one final video, and then file your FAFSA. So again, the FAFSA will open up on October in October 1st, 2021, and you can get that done all the way up to April 15th of 2022. So you want to make sure that you get that done sooner rather than later. One, you'll start to kind of understand how much you're going to be eligible for. But also, if for those of you who are meeting that November 1st deadline, it helps to have all of that information together and to be able to send to the school. So just get that done as soon as possible. So you can check your progress of these activities through SCHOLARTRACK, which is the management system that the state of Indiana has for all of their state financial aid. So you can look at SCHOLARTRACK, you can look at our Child of a Disabled Veteran. If you are someone who's going into teaching and you're looking at our Next Generation Who's Your Educator Award, all of those kind of supplemental grants and things like that we have are available on our SCHOLARTRACK system. So scholartrack.in.gov is the direct website, or if you go to our Learn More Indiana page, there is a link at the top to our SCHOLARTRACK system. So if you haven't logged in, you can contact me or you can contact our help desk and we can get you into SCHOLARTRACK to make sure that you're checking off your requirements. So you should be getting communications from us, postcards that say, hey, you're on track, or hey, you're not on track. We need you to log in and complete some activities. So if you have not received any of those, whether it's yes or no, we may not have the updated address on file for you. So you can log into your SCHOLARTRACK account and update that address, or you can contact your outreach coordinator and they should be able to help you update your address so you can get these communications from us. And again, if you have any questions for me, make sure that you're utilizing the question and answer function and we can get that information to you. So your senior year, kind of a rough timeline. Your SSP activities, those 12 activities are going to be due by June 30th. File an on-time FAFSA again, which is April 15th. So if you started on April 15th and 12 o'clock rolls around, and it's April 16th by the time that you submit your application, you are not going to be eligible to receive state financial aid unless we extend the deadline. So again, make sure that you meet all those requirements sooner rather than later. If we need to make any updates, that's something that we can do after the April 15th deadline, but we want to make sure that you meet that initial deadline so you can be eligible. 2.5 GPA on a 4.0 scale and apply to an eligible Indiana institution. So make sure that you do that really all before April 15th, because that should be able to get everything completed so you're not worrying about anything. So students also need to meet what's called the financial means test. So anyone who enrolled in the program after June 30th, 2011, we need to make sure that you demonstrate financial need. So in order to be eligible for 21st Century Scholars, students would have to be within 150% of the federal poverty level, with students that graduate, we look at 370% of the federal poverty level. So essentially, a family of two would have around $62,500 for like income on your taxes in order to still be eligible with 21st Century Scholars. So it used to be an expected family contribution, and we have now gone to the 370% of the federal poverty level. So that information for next year should be coming out here in the next couple months, and that will be communicated to the family. So if you have more than two people in the family, we would essentially add $16,000 to that maximum number. So we don't want families to feel penalized that you are improving your economic situation, but there does come a point where families do not meet the intent of the program anymore. So we would look at other different scholarships for students if they are over the maximum threshold. So if that happens in high school, we will give families a one-time award of $2,500. If that happens your sophomore, junior, or senior year of college, that next year, students are no longer eligible for the 21st Century Scholars Award. So if you have any questions about that, that's a little more private of a conversation. So that's something that we could do either offline, or if you gave one of us a call, we can kind of guide you through that process. But we will have that information available probably in the next month and a half, 2 months, for this next coming year. So a little bit about the 21st Century Scholars. Any of the 2 or 4 year public institutions, we will pay all of the tuition and mandatory fees. A mandatory fee is something that's assessed to every single student every semester. So a technology fee would probably be something that we would pay for. But if a school does a online fee for online classes, we wouldn't pay that. If it's a parking fee, we would not pay that either. So that's something that you can use other amounts of state financial aid, different scholarships to take care of. If it's at a private school or proprietary school, we will pay partial tuition. So this year for a proprietary school, it's about $4,200. At a private school, it's about $9,000 a year. So we do not pay for room and board, books, or any sort of meal plan or anything like that. But IU is a rare instance where they do have extra scholarships potentially for students in order to help pay for room and board, books, and things like that. So I'm not an expert at that. They'll talk about that with the IU Covenant here in a little bit. But with the 21st Century Scholars, we pay for tuition and mandatory fees. And it is 8 semesters or 4 years of tuition assistance. So we do not pay for any sort of graduations or graduate school. So if you're going for a master's or a PhD, it's just those first 4 years. And again, students have to start enrolling in college 1 year after a graduation of high school. So I talked about we have a high school SSP and college SSP. So essentially what you would need to do to roll over your eligibility year over year is complete 30 credit hours per year. We already talked about that. Maintain satisfactory academic progress, do the FAFSA, but also identify one mentor or champion. This could be someone that you do an entrepreneurship class with. It could be a boss or a family friend or something like that. So that's something that you can just put their contact information in, because we want you to be able to start utilizing your network in order to start getting a job really after college. And then one college engagement. So this could be a summer bridge program. It could be a new student orientation, study abroad opportunity, and then one career preparation program. So it could be where you go in to the career services office and get a resume built. You could do some job shadowing, internship, things like that. So it's not confined to just strict, these are the things. It's kind of up to your imagination. But we want you engaged on the college campus and in the career that you're thinking about going into, because those are usually the best ways for you to get a job after high school or after college, is utilizing the already established network that you have. So that's something that you can do through the SCHOLARTRACK system. So don't forget your username and password when you transition from high school to college, because you will need that information. We will be available to help you reset your password or something like that. So you don't have to do that alone, but that is something we would need for you to hold on to. So we do have scholar resources. You can download these from the Learn More Indiana website, or your guidance counselor should be giving to you these, because we send those to the schools every year. So make sure that you are talking with your guidance counselor. In the event that someone from the commission hasn't come to your school before, reach out to your guidance counselor and ask the outreach coordinator for us to come in, because we're more than happy to help walk you through this process. You don't have to go through it alone. So make sure that you're utilizing those resources so we can help you get all those requirements met. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to your regional outreach coordinator. My contact information is zcullum@che.in.gov. But again, I am essentially Evansville to Bloomington, so I may not have a great pulse of what's going on at your school or in your community. So make sure that you either email the scholars inbox, scholars@che.in.gov, give us a call, or on the web, learnmoreindiana.org/scholars. That will also have links and contact information for your regional outreach coordinator. So it's pretty easy, but I am more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. So again, make sure that you utilize the question and answer function, and I would be happy to answer anything that I can. So thank you so much for joining us, and I will turn it over to Vincent. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about what we have to offer you at the IU Bloomington 21st Century Scholars Program. I think what you're going to find is that this program is focused on your success. You will find that it's hard to beat the package that we offer you at Indiana University, and a lot is built in. So our mission as the 21st Century Scholar Program is to help you all meet the cost of college by providing students with a wide range of support activities and services on campus, including academic tutoring, peer mentoring, housing, and professional workshops such as financial aid and overseas studies scholarships. Our mission is to provide high quality service in the form of advocacy, holistic programming designed to promote academic achievement, career development, retention, scholarship maintenance, timely graduation, and to help you understand your role in making a positive impact on the city of Bloomington and beyond. This is my team to reach all of those lofty goals. Jen Berry is my lead academic advisor, and she's there to make sure that all of your needs and are communicating the needs of 21st century scholars to all the other campus academic advisors are being met, so that they're aware of what is specific to 21st century scholars that an advisor needs to be aware of. Andrew Swartz, he's our coordinator of the SMART program. That is a program designed, if you take an academic stumble, we just don't let you fall. We want to support you in recovering those grades and giving you the tools and the structure necessary to continue to excel. Kristen Carell is our academic advisor and career coordinator. So you heard some of those things from the CSSP were linked heavily with career. We have programming that is built in that will take care of each of those requirements without any fuss or any muss. It's just a natural part of what we have structured for you, so you can complete those in a timely manner. We also have Nikki Davenport, who is our Scholars Corps AmeriCorps member and our graduation and retention specialist. She is there to help you if you have questions about your scholarship. She is a liaison from the state, the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, and that's who employs her to work with us. And she is here to support you in that financial management and that financial literacy component, as well as some other aspects. Victoria Witham is our administrative assistant, and on the line with us today is Lisa Huffman, who is our special projects coordinator, and she is there for tech support and also creating a nice newsletter to keep you in the know about what opportunities are out there for you as a 21st century scholar, and also programs and deadlines. So please, once you come to Indiana University, as I'm sure once you hear the rest of this presentation, you'll choose IU. What is the student support that we provide? We have a building, you see it right here. This is 300 North Jordan. This is your home as a 21st century scholar when you come to campus. So if you're on campus the upcoming year and you want to come say hello and visit us, just come to this building at 300 North Jordan, and this is where our operation is, and we'll be happy to give you a tour of the operation. We want to make sure that we're structured and positioned to provide you advocacy. What does that mean, advocacy? Advocacy is the act of helping you navigate red tape. If there's an issue that you encounter that you don't know how to navigate because you're a freshman, you're brand new to campus, we're here to help you. That's our whole role in being here, making sure that you are successful in achieving the goals that you want to achieve and helping you plan for that goal obtainment. So we have specialized advising. Some of you are asking advising questions in the chat, and I've answered some of them. These specialized advisors are specific to the 21st Century Scholar experience, the scholarship timeline, different elements on how funding, different program opportunities may impact your scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. They're here to make sure that you reach your potential and reach those goals. So Jennifer Berry, Kristen Carell, and Andrew Swartz are all here waiting for you and eagerly putting together at this moment. They're working with the incoming class during new student orientation, where you will create your schedule for the upcoming fall and talk a little bit about your career. And they're eagerly planning the fall activities that will help support you in reaching those goals. As mentioned, tutoring and study tables. Within that building you saw, 300 North Jordan, we have a study tables environment. And that's for any 21st Century Scholar to come and enjoy. We have tutors available there, and it's just an environment that we have to promote study. We have granola bars, fruit, water, all there, so you pop in anytime between the hours of 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's going to be functioning Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5 on Fridays. We also have, when it's time for midterms, when it's time for final exams, we will have a consistent week of heavier food, such as pizza, sometimes wings, to promote that intensive study, and you're utilizing those study tables or the academic centers, which are our partner within our division. We have computer labs within the building. We have a partnership with mentoring. So you will hear about the phase mentoring program upon arrival. So that mentoring CSSP program, that program requirement is needed, is met. We will have that met. We also have a new program called Connect and Thrive, which also meets that objective. It consists of a phone app with many different functionalities and dimensions, and also a meeting with a mentor in a small group format. We also have 21st Century Scholar Leadership Corps. There's volunteer division, so if you want to engage in community service, there's that opportunity. We also have ambassador division, and that's where you have one of our student representatives coming from. She is the president of that organization, and it's an opportunity for you to fully engage. I'm not going to go into the rest because I'm sure she will share that. Then we also have other leadership opportunities. Right now, the other two panelists are engaged in some of our pre-college 21st Century Scholars programming, as well as our Bridge Summer Camp for incoming 21st Century Scholars. If you're interested in participating in High School Explorers Summer Camp, that is July 9th through the 12th. It's a virtual event. You'll learn more about the support services on campus, and again, more about what we offer, more detail. So it's an opportunity for you to continue this learning experience. And we have more things that we offer you. We have a limited amount of time, so I won't plug those now, but we do have overseas studies as well. We are a part of the Office of the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Multicultural Affairs, OVP DEMA. It's our division. Under that umbrella is academic support centers, which I previously mentioned as one of those areas that when we have those preparations for the midterm exams, final exams, we have a big pizza or wing blowout over in that facility so that our scholars can go there. There's math, increased presence of math tutors that's there, as well as other tutors depending upon what is needed. Primarily math tutors for the math courses. Mentoring services and leadership development. That is our partner, and that's strong partnership I mentioned, as well as Hudson Holland Scholars and the Group Scholars Program. We have 21st Century Scholars that are part of the 21st Century Scholars Program, Hudson Holland Scholars Program, and the Group Scholars Program. So students can be a part of all three, two, or one. Overseas Studies programs, again, we as a division, we have 2 overseas studies programs that are our own. Of course, they didn't operate during the pandemic, but they're going to be operating this upcoming year. We also have a director within DEMA that focuses on overseas studies, and there's already students on deck. She helps students write applications for larger scholarships that go towards overseas studies, and we have several that were awarded large scholarships that are anticipating traveling abroad this upcoming year. Community and corporate sponsored events, we have a number of those partnerships to, again, support that career development aspect of your approach. As you enter college, you're going hand in hand with the academics and hand in hand with the scholarship. Hand in hand with the academics and hand in hand with the career preparation. So we are here to be holistic in our approach, making sure that you can meet your goals, and we be a part of that. This is an opportunity. These are pictures from different opportunities students engaged in. The first in the top right is an overseas studies opportunity that students took to Ghana. In the bottom right is another overseas studies program in another country. Then you see on the left, top left, that was a previous year's executive board with their leadership retreat of our 21st Century Scholars Corps. And the bottom left is a trip, an experiential trip that students took to Washington, D.C. in 2017 to learn about the history of Washington, D.C. and meet with our representatives. So plenty of opportunities there. At this time, I'd like to turn it over back to Ron McFall.
All right, thank you, Vince. Really appreciate that. My apologies, probably noticed the sun is coming right in here on me, so I'm going to do my best to not be blinded here. So if the shadows look a little funny, that's what's happening here. So yeah, thanks. Vince has covered a lot of information. Zach has covered some great info. I'm going to touch on briefly the scholarship process at IU Bloomington. And then I want to get you into Amy's hands. I want to get you to Amy Hull to talk about the covenant and the financial aid process, because it's so important for our 21st century scholars and what we have to offer you at IU. So at IU, to kind of put it in a nutshell for you, we have all kinds of scholarships. Think of the Office of Scholarships as your front door for questions about scholarship opportunities at Indiana University Bloomington. And as a student, you can get merit-based money or need-based money. Merit-based is something you've done to earn the funding, performance, auditions, things like that. And need-based is based on your financial aid information as provided by the FAFSA. And students, we want you to have a little bit of both of those if you can. Piece that money together and make IU affordable. And the best way to make IU affordable, this is my number one takeaway from my section, apply by November 1. November 1 is so important. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. November 1 is our scholarship deadline for the university. And so what that means is you need to have, as Nichelle touched on, have a submitted complete application for admissions by November 1st. And don't wait until Halloween. Don't wait till the night before. Get that application done. The application will go live in August. Get it in there. Get it out of the way so you meet that November 1 deadline. And automatically, you will be considered for IU academic scholarships if you meet the November 1 deadline. So for Indiana students, we have something called the Provost Scholarship. This is based on your performance in the classroom. We do not look at test scores. We look at your performance during your time in high school to that point. And the award amounts range typically from $1,000 to $8,000. Those are always subject to change as we head into each year, but you're considered for that scholarship automatically when you submit a November 1 application. In addition to the Provost Scholarship, the other powerful piece of November 1st is it is our deadline for being considered for what we call the SSA, the Selective Scholarship Application. So if that Provost Scholarship was step one of sort of an early consideration for funding, then if you qualify, and this includes programs like the Media School, the Hudson Holland Scholars Program, the College of Arts and Sciences, a number of partners use this invitation-only application, and your eligibility to apply to this is determined by your performance level as demonstrated on your application to IU. So if you're eligible to complete the SSA, which is kind of part 2 of our scholarship eligibility process at IU Bloomington, you will be notified all throughout the process. So when you're admitted, you'll be notified if you qualified. We'll send reminders to you from my office, from our partners. So you'll know if you qualify for the SSA, but if you get it, again, just like November 1, get that application in, get that money. That's the way to do it. Additionally, our scholarships, we talked about the Provost, we talked about the SSA. There is this screen may not look familiar to you, but there's something called one.iu, and it's like the portal. We call it for the business of being a student at IU. And these little icons here are kind of like an app store on your iPhone, right? These are all little apps, and we call them tasks. And if you go out there, once you're admitted, you can access one.iu, and you'll be able to search for something called scholarships, and it says IU scholarships, that little $sign there with a mortarboard on it. And that's an opportunity for you to apply for other funding through that tool. So keep that in mind as you further your search for funding. In addition to the 21st Century Scholars Program, these are other ways for you to find merit scholarships at IU. Additionally, we've of course covered all the money that's available at Indiana University. We've talked about November 1, but there's more funding out there, and it's not just within IU's doors. It is from around the country. We have on our website, on the scholarships website, a collection of very popular scholarship search engines, opportunities for you to do a more thorough and extensive amount of research and applications for scholarships external to the university. So deadlines are different, award amounts are different, but if you're still searching later in your application process, that's a great place to go for your information. And one quick reminder as I get ready to turn over to Amy, it's so important to understand what Zach touched on earlier. The 21st Century Scholarship is a state award, which Amy will get into this. It covers your tuition at IU Bloomington. The merit scholarships I just talked about, they can sit on top of that if you have room for it. So if you qualify for additional funding, it's only going to supplement and help that 21st Century Scholarship that you may qualify for from the state. So keep that in mind. With that, though, I'm going to turn over to Amy, who is with our Office of Student Financial Assistance, and she's going to tell you about some very powerful information about our covenant program. Excuse me. Amy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Ron, and I am so thrilled to be here, but we are running late and we've had a lot of great information, so this is going to be financial aid on speed. I'm going to start with what it costs to go to school. This is our updated cost of attendance. And actually for this next academic year, I didn't change that 21-22. We now have tuition and fees for $11,332 for in-state Indiana residents. That does include any credit hour you take from 12 to 18 credit hours. So I know there have been questions about how you can get in minors and double majors. You can get that in because you have the ability to take up to 18 credit hours per semester. So if you did that every semester, if you're capable of handling that academic load, then you are going to be fine to be able to get in the academic goals that you have objectives for. Room and board is looking at your dorm and your meal plan, and that is giving you the opportunity to live in a standard dorm with air conditioning. So it's sharing a room with a roommate. It's not a single room, and it's at the more standard average rate. And that'll give you the kind of ideas of what would be charged on your bursar bill besides other costs that might be related to the specific courses you take. And those would be fees that Zach talked about that not necessarily is charged to everybody, that would not be covered under the 21st Century Scholars Program from the state. So if I were to look at these two elements, I already know that my in-state tuition and mandatory fees are already covered by the state grant from 21st Century Scholars. So I want to kind of look at the rest of the costs. So $23,430 is what a student might see on their bursar bill, but there's other costs involved in going to school. You need books and supplies. You gotta get back and forth from Bloomington during the breaks and holidays and such like that, as well as you're going to have personal expenses. You've got a headache, you need to go to CVS and get Tylenol or something like that, or mom doesn't want you to bring home all your laundry, so you probably need to go get some Tide Pods. So whatever your personal expenses are, kind of keep an idea of now what you spend on those kind of things, and keep an idea of what that might be for your own personal budget when you make some analysis. What I marked in red, direct cost plus books and supplies, those are the three elements. So tuition and fees, room and board, and books and supplies are the factors that start our analysis to look at additional funding that IU might offer you if you come to IU Bloomington and also have your 21st Century. Again, looking at your full cost of attendance, $27,289 is really what we estimate would be for a student attending this next academic year. And tuition has been held really close. I think this year was only a 1% increase. So you can kind of look at that from year to year. You cannot have aid extending over your cost of attendance. So if you have lots of scholarships, that all kind of gets added up to, or it lets you to find out what your gap is and find out of how much do I need to be borrowing. But if I go back and look at the $24,480, that is where we're going to start with the element of looking at additional IU funding. So just to understand that 21st Century and the Covenant is not necessarily a full ride, but it does give you resources to help you cover a primary and major source of your education. So we'll go on to the next slide. It all starts with you completing the FAFSA. As Zachary said, it opens October 1st of your senior year in high school. So if you're a sophomore, you're not going to be doing the FAFSA until your senior year. If you're a junior going into your senior year, you want to be ready to go October 1st. You have up until April 15th. Don't wait till the deadline, just like Zach told you. We have too many students that say, oh, I got it in on the 17th or 18th. And you know what? You've lost your opportunity for 21st Century Scholars to pay your tuition and fees. And you're going to lose that opportunity to get other resources from IU. So just get that FAFSA done early. There's lots of resources and help for you to get that information. It is going to be very important for you to get the federal and student aid that you're eligible for, and also the need-based aid that IU can offer you as well. It's standard across the country, so as you complete this, it's the same information that goes to all the schools that you send your FAFSA to. What is calculated with that is the EFC, and the EFC is called the expected family contribution. To us, really, it's an index. It lets us know if it's at a certain level, whether or not you qualify for need-based aid, like the federal Pell Grant. Has to be at a certain level or down. And it's really ideally designed for lower income families so they can have an additional support from federal and state agencies. And that's exactly why you had an income analysis towards your application when you made application for 21st Century. So again, we're wanting to help those families that need more support and being able to afford college for their families that are sometimes first generation of students going to college in their families. Keep in mind, it's going to look at income, sometimes assets, and household size. And those are the factors that are looking for both students and parents of that family's household. It does not necessarily say what you are going to be expected to pay, because that is all based on cost and other resources. So as we move on to the next slide, So you're going to get multiple types of aid offered to you. Grants, federal grants, state grants, and IU grants. Those are usually based on eligibility and usually need-based. So that tends to be for lower income families. Scholarships are because you have achieved great opportunities in high school through good grades and good test scores. That also might come your way from both the IU at the application process through the academic scholarships and selective scholarships application that Ron talked about, as also department scholarships. Departments might offer you other resources. And then don't forget there are non-IU scholarships, which means funds are coming with you from other places that you've applied. Like Zach was talking about with your community foundations. Start with your high schools. They have great references and resources of all those things that are available. Check out Ron's scholarships.indiana.edu. There are so many scholarships that beg for applicants. And so the more money you're hunting for, the more resources. And one of the things I encourage every student to do is don't just do it your senior year going into college, do it every year. Look for more resources that help you pay for your education so you can borrow less in the long run. We'll go on to the next one. So gift aid, you don't pay back. Then there are resources if you still have a gap in what your expenses might be, is how do I help myself? So different types of self-help aid is you might want to consider working on campus. You might be offered an opportunity to get a work study job, or you might not based on where your EFC is, but there are still lots of non-work study jobs on campus. And basically to you, it's a part-time job on campus. We encourage you to work 10 to 15 hours a week. Students that work tend to have better grades, better time management, and really it's become a really critical factor when you're interviewing for jobs and careers and internships to get you that next level, because you have a work experience that not everybody has. And so it's good. It's really interesting. I've been reading articles about students actually having higher income potential because they had great part-time jobs while they were in school, and they really learned to juggle it all, and they became leaders within their organization. My kids were lifeguards all the way through college, and my daughter at the end became a pool manager. So from a lifeguard to a lead to manager. So that opportunity really provided for her a way to build some leadership and skill sets that she would not have gained in the classroom. Beyond that, students typically look at borrowing. So there are student borrowing opportunities. To learn more about it, please go to studentaid.gov. You would automatically get offered, and that means offered, you don't have to accept student loans in a combination of subloans and unsubsidized loans, and that's based on your financial need. And that would be as a freshman, $5,500, $6,500, or $7,500, dependent upon what you qualify for in terms of up to your cost of attendance. Some students don't have the resources that you're going to have available to you in terms of paying your tuition and fees and maybe other scholarships that they come about. So they may have to look at private loans. And we also have institutional loans here at IU for students that are really running into some additional challenges. Parents can also borrow on behalf of their students, and there is a federal Parent Plus loan. As you see, that interest rate is a little bit higher. So sometimes parents look at other private loans or other borrowing sources. So see what you can do on your own, especially if you can get your undergraduate with your own resources and then not having to look at parent resources in addition. But again, every family is going to kind of have to look at their own sources. Go ahead to the next slide. So when you apply for IU and you are accepted, and then you complete your FAFSA, then we will in the following spring, we would call it spring, as we're starting in the spring term, about late January, mid-February, we start sending out financial aid notices. And this is a compilation of all the things that you are qualified for at that point in time. And then we send updates along the way. So we would let you know what your cost of attendance is as an in-state student. And we're also going to let you know all your gift aid. And so that's what Ron was talking about. You're automatically going to be considered for some of those by completing a November 1 application. So if you're getting scholarships from your application as well as from departments, that would all be noticed on here. If you're getting any additional grants because you qualified for federal grants, and of course your 21st Century Scholars would all show on here. So that's where you want to look at the math. So you take your cost of attendance minus your gift aid, and that's your net cost. That's the money you have to say, how am I going to pay for that net cost? So that your family responsibilities, you want to go back and make sure you look at the full cost of attendance minus your total age. So if you're going to take advantage of your work study and loans and those kind of things, that gives you an idea if you still have a gap, and then what's your family going to do in how you evaluate your budget and how you're looking at your resources. Let's go to the next slide. So the one best thing, and the reason I love working with you guys, is I'm also a 21st century mom, meaning my kids were 21st century scholars, and it was imperative for them to get through school. My son just finished his senior year, so we are 21st century graduates, and it had been imperative for my children to be able to, as a single mom, to be able to finish school, and having that resource available to them was wonderful. Now, I had one daughter that went to IU and took advantage and had the resources that the IU covenant awarded her, and my other son did not. And I tell you, he left money on the table when he went to another school. He found it was better for him academically, so that was something that he was looking for. But what I try to tell you is, when it comes to finance, IU Bloomington offers one of the most robust programs that can help you fund your education. So we're going to look at how the covenant works. The covenant works is going to take those three elements: tuition and fees, housing and meals, and books and supplies, 24,480. And we're going to subtract the EFC. So I have two examples: a student that has a 0 EFC, that means they have full need, and a student that has $6,000 EFC, and that family is, middle income, and they have resources available to them, even though I know it sometimes feels hard to kind of evaluate that. This is what a student might get. So I highlighted scholarships because if you're getting additional scholarships from academic reward, then that would also be indicated here, and you would do the math there. But this is an example of a student had Pell Grant, an additional federal grant from IU, and then their 21st scholarship paying for their tuition and fees. That means their covenant would equal $6,000, because if I took 24,000 minus these, then the remaining need of those three elements is still $6,000. So in total, this student got gift aid of 24,480. So if you took cost of attendance, the transportation and the personal expenses, that's what's outside. And if I look at this, I would encourage that student to get a job on campus, because it's very easy for them to make $2,800 and have their resources and expenses covered. And in this case, this student probably wouldn't be needing to do any borrowing. On the flip side, a family that has more resources, they're not going to have the same type of a gift aid possibly, unless they get scholarships. So that's where scholarships can help you even more. But they still have their 21st century scholars that's paying their tuition and fees. And this student in this scenario would get $7,000 in covenant. So in total, they're still getting $18,000 worth of gift aid. If I subtract the full cost of attendance minus their gift aid, their family needs to kind of consider, how am I going to come up with $8,000, where they're automatically going to get offered loans of about $5,500. So that remains another $2,800. And I believe that student very well, if they took advantage of their loans and did a part-time job on campus, or came to school with some of that money in pocket, so they have those resources available, I think that family would not need to be doing any additional borrowing. So that's definitely within the parameters. So if I have a higher EFC, I'm going to need to look at more family resources, and maybe where we've got 529 plans and other things like that. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. What I want you to do is start talking money with your family, so you understand. Look at some of these examples. You can use this when you get the presentation and it gets sent to you. Use this as a what if scenario, and then talk about, if my gap is this, how am I going to take care of those net costs? What I'm going to encourage you to do is start developing a plan to make and manage and develop a budget. If you've never done a budget before, this is the perfect time. What resources do I have? What expenses do I have? If I have a gap, how am I going to take care of that? And then you're going to be making a decision. Well, am I going to need to be borrowing? Borrowing is not bad. Borrowing for an education to get a degree is phenomenal. If you borrow and don't finish your degree, then you've got no degree and student borrowing. So we want to keep you from having that. And that's why all the resources Vince has to get you to the finish line, get that degree. That's going to be so important for you to build your career and have successful opportunities to take care of any investment you made in getting your education. So loan help at indiana.edu is my department, and we do loan counseling. We are happy to do what if scenarios with you. And I'd love to sit down. I love to talk to incoming students so they can do some pre-planning rather than only talking to students as they're graduating and talking about what repayment looks like as they get ready to graduate. So I'm happy to help. Go on to the next screen. So we encourage wise borrowing. I know Zach talked about average statistics, but here are the IU statistics. Because we have so much phenomenal resources for students, there are, we at IU have lower debt than for the average student. There are some students have higher, some have lower. But our average debt for our 2020 graduating students with a bachelor's degree is $27,000. That's lower than state average and lower than federal average. 43% of our students had debt. So you can see the example I gave of the student with the 0 EFC and maybe didn't need to borrow because of the resources they had available. Take advantage of it, be a good student, and get yourself through school, and you might graduate with minimal debt or manageable debt. But just look at those kind of things. My favorite resource is studentaid.gov, and go to the loan simulator. You can play with what if scenarios. But what you want to do is think about not just borrowing what it would look like your first year in school, but what would it look like all the way to getting your degree. Rule of thumb is if you can borrow less than what you might make in your first year salary. So as you investigate careers and what those majors are to get those careers, you might have an idea of what those first year salaries would look like. So you can kind of use all that data points as you're doing some what if scenarios. We'll move on to the next slide. So timeline real quick. We've already talked about the FAFSA. October of your senior year, you can go ahead and get it started. I know my family every year got it done at Thanksgiving because I didn't want to go to Black Friday shopping because I didn't want to deal with the crowd. So I'd make my kids sit down on Friday or on the Friday, and we would do FAFSAs. Guess what? I don't have to do one this year. Search for scholarships, not just, this year. You might, if you're a sophomore, this is a great time to start investigating what kind of scholarships are out there, what they ask in essays. Go ahead and start writing essays. You can kind of get some of this stuff pre-done. Talk to your English teachers to kind of get those edited and get them ready to go. So when you're going into your senior year and you're actually applying for scholarships, those are great times. So if you're in that scenario right now, going into your senior year, this is a great time to investigate and get several scholarship applications ready in terms of those essays ready to go to kind of tell your story. When you are admitted to IU, we will be asking you to submit information to clarify your FAFSA data. So always, once you go to one.iu, which was the portal that Ron talked about, look at your to-do list, get things done. I've got students that haven't gotten things cleared up, and so they're in a process of trying to get that done this summer so it doesn't delay their aid in the fall. We'll send you your financial aid notice, and that will give you the information of what you need to know about your funding options, and then it allows you to start planning your budget. And at that point in July, before you start college, you'll be able to make a determination on what your loan needs would be. Just so you know, your bill is actually produced and due September 10th when you start school. So classes actually start and the bill is due after that. Your financial aid will credit to your bill. If there's anything left over after your bill is paid, then you get what's called a refund of the remaining portion of your financial aid. That refund is what you use for expenses, personal expenses throughout the semester. So you want to kind of budget that and take care of it. If your aid doesn't quite cover your resources, then you need to look at what are other resources do I have available to pay my bill, and to also keep in mind what your personal expenses might be. And the last slide. These are just some resources I want to point out. Anything you have a question about the business of being a student, financial aid, registration, and your student account, go to studentcentral.indiana.edu. Office of Scholarships, Ron talked about that, and I would bookmark that and look at that every year. I was noticing on Instagram, they promote scholarships all the time that are still available for students for coming in for the fall. So it's kind of great to kind of get linked in with all the social media. Loan counseling I've talked about. Any questions you have about your FAFSA or student aid, especially if you really have to have some peculiar questions about filling out your FAFSA, because that we can't answer that until that FAFSA comes to us. So we don't have that information until that comes to us, but call that 800 number. And then Money Smarts is our financial wellness area on campus, and they actually meet both probably in person in the fall as well as virtually with families. And their website is just full of financial information to really help you improve your money smarts. So I thank you. I know this was really rushed. I'll be here to answer questions, but good luck to you. I'm excited, and I really hope you find a home at IU Bloomington. I'm an IU grad, a lot before Ron went to school here, which is the Gray. Well, my kids went here, and I'm also a Bloomington resident, so it's a great hometown to have even for 4 years. So welcome.
All right, thank you, Amy. Great job covering a lot of information. Yeah, it's just so important. Well, so now I'd love to move into the real highlight of the evening, which is our 21st century scholars themselves. So I'll have Ravneet, Floor, and Cece turn their cameras on, and it's showtime, my friends. So what we're going to do is we are going to ask them first to just, if we can go in that order. So Ravneet, Floor, and Cece, let's just kind of stick with that. If you could talk, share your name, your year, what you're studying, and where you're from. So if you got that. So I will turn it over to Ravneet.
Hi everyone. So my name is Ravneet. I'm a junior at IU and I'm studying biology and minoring in Spanish. I am from Greenwood, Indiana.
Great job. Floor.
Hello everyone, my name is Floor. I'm currently a junior studying informatics with a double minor in Spanish and business, and I'm originally from Indianapolis.
Hi, I'm Cece. I'm also a junior. I'm majoring in English, also with a minor in Spanish, and I'm from Indianapolis.
Perfect. So we've got the Indianapolis area is represented well on tonight's call. So we're gonna, for those watching, and we see a lot of you still with us, thank you so much. We're gonna ask a few questions here. I would also invite you, if you have questions for our students, these are real living, breathing IU students. So if you want to know what it's like to be a 21st century scholar at IU, put it in a little Q&A window and we will try to get that question answered. If you want to direct it, you know, I really want to talk to Floor. I want to know what Floor is all about, or what's her take on this. We can do that too. So I just invite you to submit those questions. So speaking of questions, we're going to start with an easy one, which briefly tell us, and let's stick with the same order for the first one. So Ravneet, why did you choose IU Bloomington?
So I had looked at a large variety of colleges with different medical programs because I want to be a family physician, so pre-med. And I had noticed that IU had one of the best medical schools, and that is what I was interested in. Another option that many of you guys should consider is like your living, where you would like to live. So it was nice. It wasn't too far and it wasn't too close. It was just in the right area. So those were two of my main reasonings for Bloomington, and it's a beautiful campus. When you get there, you definitely do fall in love. It is a great place to tour. But the biggest one was for the degree that I wanted to go for, which was medicine, and I just wanted to get into the pre-med track. And IU is known for its med school. It's also known for its Kelley School of Business. So do look at what you are wanting to go for, your degree, your major. So mine was the biggest was medicine. Sorry.
That's okay. Floor, how about you? Why'd you choose IU?
So I looked at several colleges. I put my foot in a little bit of each of them, you know. I kept every door open until the last second. And so a lot of things that just really called my name with IU was, first of all, the money. Like, it was unbeatable. I really realized how much college costs when I looked at the money. And then also how beautiful the campus is. Like, it's literally, once I got on campus, I was like, I can see myself here. I can see myself, you know, just walking down the halls, touring the campus again, but by myself with friends. And so that's mainly why I chose it.
Okay, I am also in agreement with Floor. The first thing that kind of like pulled my eye for IU was definitely the amount of money and financial support they were offering me and my family, as I'm the sixth kid in my family. So we knew that we definitely needed somewhere that would be able to support us. And then also I was undecided. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. And IU, Bloomington specifically, had so many schools, so many programs, so many majors that I knew that if I was going to go anywhere, I would be able to find like something at IU Bloomington. Like I knew I was going to find a path for whatever I want to do. And also the people are so sweet and so kind. Whoever I talk to, they're willing to help me answer my questions, kind of guide me through it. So that was also another factor.
All right, thank you all for your answer. Cece touched on something really important, which is, don't let the size be a deterrent to your decision. One of our favorite phrases in recruitment and in scholarships is, you can make a big campus small, but you can't make a small campus big. And I think every student that comes here knows what that means because of the opportunities that you're able to find and the communities you can find, and it just clicks when you get on campus. So, and the money helps. We try to make that an attractive proposition too, particularly with this program. So I want to kind of flip the order around here. And I'm going to start, let's start with Floor on this one. Quickly, Floor, what, if anything, are you involved in on campus outside of studying hard in the classroom? And then let's have Cece and then Ravneet.
Yeah, so I am the incoming president for the 21st Century Leadership Corps, and then I am also a part of Gamma Phi Omega International Sorority Incorporated, and I am also a part of a couple other smaller organizations, as the Luddy Consulting Association and a couple of my informatics clubs.
I am a part of one of the largest student run organizations on campus, the Union Board. Me particularly, I am on the lecture committee. So what we do is we bring speakers to campus for, like, in the past we've brought like Josh Peck, Anthony from Queer Eye, and there's also a lot of other different committees if you want to join. There's like movies, there's comedy, there's just like stuff that you can do on campus. And also for this upcoming semester, I'll be working with the English department and doing some social media stuff for them. So.
So for me, I'm part of Phase, which is a mentoring program. We take freshmen, incoming freshmen, transfer students, almost any students that would like a guidance or a mentor to help give them the resources that they need, or give them suggestions. Sorry about that, it's my computer. Okay. Sorry. But let me start all over. So with Phase, you do get the resources that you wanted, questions answered. Sometimes they even help you with classes that are you're normally paired with people that are in the same major. So you're able to ask questions about your major. So we get a help with that area. I'm also part of College of Mentor for Kids. So we get to meet with little kids from elementary schools once a week for an hour and just help them enjoy life and learn about college a little bit, about their future, and look into that. And then lastly, as a 21st Century Scholar, I get to work at study tables this upcoming fall. So I get to help monitor and see if anybody needs help at our study tables, and provide guidance when they need that.
Perfect. I think we can all see our students are very busy on campus. Ravneet's so busy, she's getting little notifications. No, I'm just joking with you. So we have some questions for our scholars, actually directed to two of them specifically. So Ravneet, I'm going to start with you because we have a question that's come in, and it says, Ravneet, does the IU Med School, and it's okay if you don't know all the details here, does IU Med School look at IU biology graduates with great notice due to the fact that they're from IU? Or do they look at them the same as they would any other college graduates? So you may not have all those answers, but what's your opinion on that?
So I have attended a lot of IU Medical School Zoom calls. I've talked with advisors that are from IU Medical School. So I had that same question when I was an incoming freshman. I completely understand why you have this question. They have often reassured me and reassured a lot of other students that have the same question, that they do look at everybody the same way as any other graduate. Um, Obviously, each applicant has different I'd say different accomplishments. Some have done research, others have done clinical hours. Some people don't even have the same majors. We have different majors that come into IU Medical School, I've learned. It doesn't always have to be biology. Biology is just known to complete all the prereqs that are required for medical school. So that is a very similar, they just say that they always look at them the same because as a medical facility, you should not have that bias when an applicant applies to a school. It's just like college. College doesn't look if you came from a certain high school. They look at your accomplishments, what your resources, your reference letters, your academic life. You're an all-rounder student. So that is what makes you you. Every person is unique. So they don't just look at IU biology. They look at everybody that comes and applies for that school.
Perfect. And this one's going to go to Cece. And Cece, the question is, was being undecided in terms of a major intimidating as you showed up to IU? And then how did you end up choosing the field that you did?
I would say when I first came, like my first week, it was so scary because everyone seemed to know what their major was and what they wanted to do. Got a lot less intimidating once you realize a lot of people would end up switching their majors, not hating the classes they were taking, completely just switching it up. So I would say even me coming in undecided kind of gave me an advantage because I had more room in my schedule to kind of like figure out what classes I wanted to take, what sounded interesting to me, to kind of find my passion. And that's how I ended up being an English major. I took Intro to Ethnic Literature my first semester of college, and I was like, this is it. I love the people. I loved the English professors. It just was the vibe I wanted, the kind of like class I wanted to take. So that's how I found out. So don't be scared of being undecided. It's really better than assume.
Got it. It's a little delay there on Cece's video, but the takeaway was jump in there. Don't be scared about the idea that you may have to figure things out once you get there, because most people are in that same boat. I promise you, that's the key. And while we're on the topic, Floor, how'd you end up in informatics? That's a really unique program. And can you tell us quickly how you chose your major?
Yeah, so I originally came to IU for the Kelly School of Business. That's where I was. I was ready to major in something in there. I wasn't sure what, so I picked information systems. And so through that, I also had previously took AP Computer Science in high school, and I knew all about, like technology, coding. I did a little bit of it, and I really didn't like just pure coding. It was boring to me. So I was like, oh, technology isn't for me. And I slowly backed off out of it. And then I came to IU and I got more involved, of course. And I started, looking more at different programs, and I saw Letty's beautiful building. And so I was like, oh, I want to walk in there and just, study. And then I came across a few people that were doing something on the computer, and it was like visually appealing, and they were just doing a lot of cool things with AR, not really AR, but like different 3D printing software. And so that's when I asked questions, and then next thing you know, I was just, looking at different courses, and I took the first intro class, and that's what did it for me. And I was like, okay. And so, yeah, that's how I got there.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've seen this for many years, how often there's one course that you take and you're like, huh, this is really something that has my attention. And then lo and behold, a year later, you're deep into the major and you're charging ahead. Thank you so much. We have a question. We actually have a couple that came in. They're very similar, and I'm going to ask Ravneet to answer this. And the general premise of the question is, how hard is it, or is it not difficult, to connect with your professors at a school of our size? I think that's one of the main fears, is I'll never get a personal connection or office hours with a teacher. But Ravneet, you're a junior. Tell us how that works at IU.
Yeah, so coming from high school where we only have a small class, about 30 students sometimes, it is overwhelming to see a class of 200 students. So yes, we do have big lecture classes, and it is intimidating as an introvert, sometimes even as an extrovert. But you should make the first step. Go down when after class, and it won't take more than 5 minutes, and just say, "Hi, my name is," and say your name and introduce yourself to that professor. That professor may not remember your face right the next day, but they will remember you if you keep talking to them and going to their office hours, or even asking them questions through an email, or right after class, or even at the office hours. Um, it is intimidating to have those big lecture halls, but don't be afraid when you do attend those classes. Make friends, talk to the person right next to you, because there's an unsaid rule that you don't leave your seat. It's been since like high school, I feel like. You don't leave the seat you already sat at, so everyone sits in that same seat, like an assigned seat, when it's not. So do talk to the people sitting right next to you, because they're more likely to be there again tomorrow and the next day and the following day. So do say, "Hey, my name is this," and introduce yourselves. You're likely to have the same major and going into the same area. Um, don't be afraid of these classes, because the big lecture halls normally have a smaller class after. It would be taught by an assistant instructor, also known as an AI, and that class would normally be about 30 to 35 students. It's as much as a high school room, and it's in a smaller room, and that is an opportunity for you to ask any questions you were unable to ask during lecture. And do talk to those instructors as well. Those are teachers as well, and they are also people that you can form a bond with, because making the first step to introducing yourself is a great way. Down the line, you can ask for a reference letter, and they can even help you get a headway into what you want to go into. Maybe give you some research idea, or recommend you to somebody that can help you with your career path. So do make that first step, even if it's scary. I promise. I don't like big lecture halls. I don't like standing in front of people, but it is worth it, and you won't be afraid. They are so warm and welcome, and they understand that it's scary. So please make that effort when you, especially on the first week of class, do make that effort.
Yeah, that I couldn't have answered it better myself. And to her point, any school of our size, any public institution of our size, in your early years on campus, particularly your freshman year, you're going to have, it's like a funnel. You're going to start in a larger course, because a lot of people take the same things, and then you get into a smaller course. You get into a smaller course, and you get a discussion section and a lab. So there's all these other little experiences to complement the larger one. But the professors love it when you talk to them. They truly don't, I think, see enough students do that. So take that initiative. So we have a great answer. Thank you so much. We're just a couple minutes over, but we have a couple more questions I want to get to, and then we'll wrap things up for those who are still on. Flor, I'm going to start with you. And our last question for the panelists here is Flor. Let's do Flor, Cece, and Ravneet. Flor, what is the one, I'll even give you a couple, one or two biggest benefits of being a 21st century scholar, specifically at IU Bloomington? And I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I would say first, definitely the community, because there's other students like you, other students who have the same scholarship going through the same thing. We're all college students, of course, but even having another similarity just adds to that. So I would say just having that space where you could just, make friends and automatically have something in common. And then also, I would say the financial part was always a big deal, especially as college students. We're known as the broke college students a lot of times, but just, being able to have a part-time job and just keeping some of that money for yourself is definitely a plus. You can go out, have fun with friends, and yeah, those are definitely the top two.
Yeah, for me, sorry, can you hear me? Now I'm like so paranoid about not being able to be heard. For me, I definitely say like the resources regarding like the career prep. So we have like career fairs that you can go to and connect with like potential people that will hire you. We have like seminars talking about how to make a resume or how to do a job interview. And I feel as like 21st century scholars, often a lot of us come from like lower or middle class backgrounds where we don't have this type of preparation, and it's some of the most important stuff that you can find out in college. So I feel like that's one of the best parts of being a 21st century scholar.
And Ravneet, you're
Yeah.
up.
For me, I would say even the building, the 21st century's building, the ability to meet those advisors and just ask questions about 21st century. I have went to my advisor the first year as many times as I could just to get a check-in, to answer my questions about getting all the credits in my bank and getting all the classes, my GPA, what I need to the requirements I need to fulfill. SCHOLARTRACK, that was another thing. In college you get so filled up with homework, essays, exams, final projects that we don't think about the requirements that we need to complete as a 21st century scholar. So just having that in the back of your head and having your advisors remind you, it's very helpful. So as a 21st century scholar, I'm happy that I always got a notification, hey, don't forget to fill out your FAFSA or something, because that's not in our head. It's not on our list yet. So I would say that was something that I was very happy that I was always able to be nagged about. Maybe I know it's sometimes annoying to get all those overwhelming emails, but it is helpful, and it is so nice to know that you won't lose your scholarship because you didn't get a notification from the department that you need to complete something. So be happy about those emails.
Yeah, and if it seems like nagging, it's nagging with love. That's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure that you don't lose out on tens of thousands of dollars that make college affordable. So our students, I do want to be mindful of time here. So our students, I know at least two of them have already dropped their IU email addresses in the little chat window. So if you have other questions, feel free to ask them directly. We have kind of a growing list here, so be sure to reach out to them directly. I did want to answer two that came in very quickly, which were kind of earlier in the session. And if our students could stay on, that's okay. You guys can just keep your cameras on. And these are more about applying to IU. One was, when should I begin applying for scholarships? The answer is essentially as soon as you can. You can start kind of laying the groundwork for scholarships through this program, through your community, early on in high school. So you can start applying for external money or start at least getting information together very early in your high school career. As far as the university, you should apply for scholarships. And we talked about the process. Applying to IU is the key to getting the ball rolling. So to begin applying for scholarships, you need to begin applying for admission. And you can do that when the application goes live. So for this upcoming year, that looks like it's going to be around August 1st, that weekend, maybe August 2nd. So if you're a rising senior, when the application goes live, get it in there. And then later in the fall, when the first admission decisions roll out, you're ahead of the game on the scholarship search. So very, very good question. Another question, and this is more of an admissions question, but the student is referencing kind of the COVID impact. Virtual classes, they say, were pretty stressful as a high school student. I know a lot of students maybe saw their grades suffer a little bit. Will that be taken into consideration for an admission decision? That's a really good question. The simplest answer is that our admissions office looks at a wide variety of factors on your admission application. So we have something called a holistic application or holistic review. We look at your performance, both on what your high school has shared with us, how that looks when it's weighted versus unweighted, how did you do in core academic courses, how did you do if you took some advanced courses, and of course, there's going to be an opportunity for you to submit an essay to share anything you want with the Office of Admissions. So if you're in a position where you feel like, I do want to let them know that I kind of struggled with, these remote courses, the online courses last year, I think that's okay to share that. That's going to be your canvas to let the Office of Admissions know, hey, look, you may see this little blip on my transcript. That's not me. That was COVID-19. And, if I'm admitted, I'll hit the ground running. That's always a good thing to add. So you'll have an opportunity to share that as a prospective applicant. So with that, I wanted to just simply thank our panelists, Cece, Floor, Ravneet. You were tremendous. Just a great, great job. One of the best panels I've ever seen, truthfully. So thank you so much. So I want to be mindful of time. It's 7:41. We went a little bit over because we had a whole lot of information to share and great questions from all of you online. So our contact information is there on the screen. If you need anything from our offices in the future, please reach out. We are here to answer those questions. On behalf of all of my colleagues, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed our 21st Century Jumpstart program and that your questions were answered, and we look forward to seeing you at IU in the near future. Take care, everyone.